1,000 Mamushi clones have officially appeared on the battlefield. 1,000 and counting, according to this guy Inojin, by the end of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 30 tweet. And we see the ominous expression, or we see lack of expression thereof, on this guy Kashin Koji's face by the end of this chapter. And this isn't new, right? Initially, we understand when the mission first started, we saw a similar scene like this play out, where we see how things ultimately took a turn for the worst, and then it led to Shikamaru having to rely on this last resort plan that we are currently going through, leading all of the Mamushi towards Ada's location and hoping to take them out in one fell swoop. Now, the initial plan was to have Damon do what Damon does best and dwindle the numbers down to completely damn near zero, right? And then Sarada to come through, round up the rest, and wipe them out with her Ohirume Jutsu, and then have Kawaki and Himawari follow behind with any extra cleanup of possible Mamushi clones that may have escaped. And we see how that plan ended up: overestimation on Shikamaru's case, or not taking into the calculations of Sarada's jutsu not coming through, or in terms of her chakra usage and drainage, considering in the possibility that she might even use the jutsu prior to the moment that he needed her to. How much cost of chakra would it actually consume? Now, in that whole entire case, it's a completely different scenario. What's going down with Sarada is something very crucial for her character, and I believe Ikimoto will do her justice moving forward in the story. However, for now, she is down and out for the count. Kawaki is down and out for the count. And like I stated, Kashin Koji's facial expressions, it somehow tells me he saw this future and only one or two things are occurring. He saw this future and this is what he planned for, or he saw this future and this isn't what he planned for. Now, how are we going to stop 1,000 Mamushi and increasing, from basically increasing even further, but ultimately even beyond that, whether he reaches 2,000 or 3,000, because 1,000 is already a problem? How are we going to defeat this guy, Mamushi, at this point? Now, he's earned a lot of respect I've been seeing going around the fandom, but we're going to keep it a bean, you know what I'm saying? I call it how I see it, and I've been called it. I told y'all Mamushi wasn't going to be that much of an issue. Now we understand what's really the problem with this guy. It's not his strength, which I was never impressed by in the first place, right? Especially when in the initial chapters, when people gassed it up like, oh, he's pressing Boruto, he's giving... I'm like, Boruto was really worried he probably wouldn't have even tried to fight him like that, you know? But with all of that, you know what I'm saying, aside, this guy Mamushi has proved just how dangerous he actually can be. Now, regardless of how many times he's been killed throughout this entire mission, his ability to clone perfectly himself, copy his chakra, and make 100% powerful clones just as he is extremely handy and extremely useful, as we see in situations where, yeah, you may be stronger than me, but in a battle of attrition, I can just outlast you, and that appears to be the case with this guy Mamushi, literally a one-man army. Now, those of y'all who are very privy to My Hero Academia, y'all know one of the main things that this guy Hawks, the ranked number 2 hero at the time, was tasked with, or he felt like he personally needed to do, was prior to the war against the League of Villains, we got to take this nigga twice out, because that's a whole army on his own. You know what I'm saying? And very much so we see throughout the war how his ability could have been used in its most dangerous effects once figures like Toga got a hold of his ability through her blood quirk and able to use his cloning ability. Now we see here similarly so with this guy Mamushi, he is just continuously duplicating, continuously multiplying, and it seems as if no matter how many times you kill him, regardless of how powerful you are, there is no end. Now the best way is to take them all out in one fell swoop, as we discussed earlier. Now, how do they move forward with that plan from now? Now, I've seen a lot of people bring a whole bunch of speculations, from Himawari's Bijou Bomb to Momoshiki popping up and saying, take a backseat and hold my coffee, this is how you do it, Boruto, and all of those ideas are good, and especially if done right, they could work for the story. However, I think it's a missed opportunity if we don't decide to give the spotlight to this guy, Boruto. Now, I already stated, how do I believe this is going to happen? I already believe the most likely scenario lies with this guy, Kashinkoji, and his reaction at the end of chapter 32. So as for anything too intricate or detailed, it's not really that type of video. Yet I do believe whether it's a future Kashinkoji saw and wants to happen or saw and doesn't want to happen, it's yet to be determined. But I don't believe, right, especially with this current predicament with Sarada and Kashinkoji's prior statement in the previous arc where her eye will be a great asset in the battles to come. Now, considering what she's done within this Mamushi arc, yes, it was very useful, but I don't think that would be like the future he saw or the battles to come he saw that her usefulness will come into play. So I believe Sarada has more going forward, but it definitely lies into whatever Kashinkoji has seen with his future. Now, that aside, exactly saying how this guy Mamushi is defeated. Now, I believe, like I stated, the best case, right, or at least a missed opportunity for Ikimoto if he doesn't give this win to this guy, Boruto. Now, he's come through the time skip. We've shown all of the super Chad moments that he's had. He's had a whole bunch of W's, but if y'all haven't noticed, during the Sand mission is initially when his run started to slow down and he's kind of taking a back seat. Now, it hasn't been as prominent because we still get major moments, especially with Momoshiki, especially with revelations like his sibling duo and dynamic, him returning to the village, and also seeing his karma for the first time in battle, especially in conjunction with his Byakugan. He has been giving us a lot, Ikimoto, in terms of this guy, Boruto, and his showcasing of powers and abilities. Yet, I think the time is now ripe and the time is fresh for Boruto to get his first official Shinju kill. Now, if you remember, right, in all of the previous kills of the Shinju, everything had been played into account with the exception of Ryu, of other people going into, you know, the Shinju's death. With Hidari, it was not only Boruto, but Boruto, Sarada, Konohamaru, and a little bit of Kawaki, who ultimately ended up defeating this guy Hidari. When it comes to Matsuri, we see how the whole entire love and mind games played between Matsuri and Konohamaru back and forth. Both let their guards down, both got critically injured. Boruto pops up on the end of the battle, cleans it up. We know what happened with Jira, let's not go there. And now we're here with Mamushi. Now, aside from everybody who's upping their kill count with these Mamushi clones, it's kind of disingenuous, but it's still very much a real Shinju kill if you want to count how many clones each of these people have killed. Now, in terms of an actual defeat though, making sure Mamushi is gone for good, I've seen a lot of people, and I've been one of the ones, Damon is going to mop the floor with this guy. But at this point, Damon's strength has proved to be so overwhelming and also so limited in terms of area of effect capacity. It's not really practical to rely on Damon to take out especially 1,000 Mamushi clones when the guy has the capabilities of cloning whenever he feels like it. So Damon can destroy 500 and another 1,500 can pop up. So how can we get this done and done right? So like I said, if this guy Boruto is going to be the one to do it, how is it possible without relying on Momoshiki taking over his body and without also being so keen on destroying the outskirts of the village? Because we know we're not in the village, but necessarily right outside of it. Still, you have to be careful with the terrain. So someone like Himawari can still keep her initial position and her initial role, be backup, but now the main person to take out or dwindle the numbers will have to switch from Damon to this guy Boruto. And how could it work? Well, something as simple as we see with the combinations of his latest glow ups, right? So we know Boruto has come back in the time skip. He's been famous for this flying Raijin altercation type jutsu that he mastered and remastered in the likeness of his grandfather. And we see the usefulness in his capabilities. So in a scenario where now Boruto is actually amped with not only Momoshiki's chakra, but also a higher version of the karma than we've seen him use ever before. He has the full karma Zeal activated and he's able to utilize the Byakugan. I don't think it's crazy to see Boruto soaring over the Mamushi, especially how convenient they all managed to gather into one spot and somehow managed to, not only with the power of his karma seal, but utilizing all of his ninja tactics and trickery. So summoning maybe shurikens and throwing them across the entire battlefield, kind of trying to mimic, you know, how his late grandfather would go against toe-to-toe armies in the ninja wars of the past, right? But instead of showing how proficient he is, because we know is a key difference between him and Minato, we can show Boruto's weaknesses, but how he's able to overcome them. So in a situation where, let's say, he covers the entire battlefield, or at least a majority of the battlefield in shuriken and kunais and his weaponries that he has marked with his chakra, summon 2 shadow clones to keep it efficient. We know he's not a not a spammer like his dad. So when it comes to multi-shadow clone jutsu, I already said Naruto's not here, because if so, he would be the perfect answer to Mamushi. And since Himawari isn't showing any signs as of yet of being able to spam a shadow clone jutsu thanks to Kurama's chakra, our best bet is Boruto. But we've seen the most he's ever do was 5, and then at this point, knowing that he's stronger to summon at least up to 100, it's not really practical for him considering his fighting style. But at this point, 3 shadow clones would be perfect. 3 shadow clones, spreading your weapon shurikens all across the battlefield and having them each tasked with just blitzing across the battlefield and taking out the Mamushi in the instances that it occurs. We know how effective, and not only how effective, but instantaneous the flying Raijin jutsu is. So in a scenario where we have 3 shadow clone Karma Seal Byakugan Borutos over the battlefield, just flying Raijin over groups of Mamushi and cutting them down instantly, maybe one of the Borutos can be tasked with just simply using or spamming massive Rasengans, but 3 of them darting around the field, I believe within, at least 30 seconds, even quicker than what Damon did, he has the capability of not only catching a Mamushi off guard, but dwindling their numbers drastically before they even realize what's happening or even have enough time to summon as many clones again. And in the midst of the process, the 2 people on cleanup can be both Damon and Himawari. Now, in terms of details, in terms of tinfoil hat theories, this definitely can be considered one of them. But as for Boruto being the one to take down Mamushi, I believe it does much for his character, and it does much for the villagers if they are the ones who understand what the public opinion is. Boruto done saved the village again, right? But as for how it goes down, a little bit more on the fanboy side here, imagine Boruto spamming flying Raijin with 2 other shadow clones, both covered in the Karma Seals and Byakugans, if they even can do that, because we know there's a little iffy if Boruto's shadow clones can even have the Karma, but even if not, imagine that though, right? Because he would still have the chakra amp from his karma, and summoning those shadow clones would just make the job more efficient and more easier to dash across the field and take out all of the Mamushi in one fell swoop, or at least dwindle their numbers drastically. So let me know how y'all thoughts and comments and concerns about this type of idea, but ultimately how y'all feel these 1,000 Mamushi clones will be defeated. So until my next video, holla at your boy Black Chat 3. I'm gonna holla at y'all. Black Chat out. Yes, sir. Ski.